Hey everyone, I'm with MCC, UFC, and Rizin vet Johnny Hollywood Case. And what's up, man? How's the quarantine in the hotel?
It sucks dick, man. Let me tell you, it's nothing like what I was expecting. At first, my old coach, my old striking coach, he was
Hmm.
my coach at the Army lab, Eddie Chaw. He's actually Korean Zombies striking coach now, and
Okay.
with the COVID issue that was going on, he couldn't get a visa to come to the U.S. South Korea wouldn't do that, but they could bring fighters here, but they had to quarantine. So I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna get here and it's gonna be like me and my coach and my other teammate. We're just gonna hang out at the Airbnb and like be able to hit pads and stuff. No,
Yeah.
man. As soon as we landed, they treated us like we had Ebola. Like they carted us off, got us on a bus, brought us to this hotel that's guarded by the police and the military, and basically locked us each in our separate in a tiny little hotel room. So
Hmm.
I've been here. This is day three of 14, and
Oh, that
it's
sucks, man.
uh, it's been tough, dude. It's been tough. It's solitary confinement. It's no joke. You know what I mean? It'll your mind is a weird thing. You know what I mean? If you sit idly, this first and second day, by the second day, I kind of started losing my mind a little bit. I
Yeah.
kind of had a panic, like a freak out, and I was like, "Oh, I got to get out of here! I got to get out of here!" But then luckily, I had a paper and some pencil, and I was able to like sit down and write out my thoughts, and like that calmed me down in a weird way because I had all these thoughts going on in my head, and I couldn't express it to anybody. I couldn't talk to anybody, and then just writing it on paper, and it was just like, all right, man, we got this, no big deal.
Yeah. Well, then they certainly don't fuck around in South Korea. That's for sure. Certainly not in the
Yeah.
north either.
Yeah, exactly, even more
Definitely not in the
so.
north.
Yeah, yeah, man. But I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Like a fucking Americans, dude. We're so like, oh, I had to quarantine. No, motherfuckers aren't doing anything
No.
like over here. Like, I was in for a rude awakening. You know what I mean? That's for
Hmm.
sure. So I'm here
Like,
now, though, making the most of it.
that's good. Now, did you have an idea that they're gonna make you self quarantine for the 14 days? Like, I mean, the rule's pretty much the same, mandatory all over, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, like I didn't think like since we were traveling together, I was told that we could all quarantine together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Thinking like at Airbnb, you know what I mean, like a village kind of thing. We just can't leave our area, kind of quarantine like that. You know what I mean? We're not sick, obviously, but no, man, they take this shit serious. Like we're basically in a fucking jail cell.
Well,
You know
and
what I mean?
and the,
We
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, and the thing is about that. I mean, if you were in like Airbnb, at least if you're with your coach, like if you're with people that you train with or whatever, at least you could, yeah, you could hit pads. You kill time. When you're with other people, it's a little bit easier. But I certainly could see that it'd be difficult. By yourself in a hotel room, so you can't even leave the hotel room.
No, so
Oh my
they
god.
deliver food to my door 3 times a day. It's fucking
Okay.
garbage food, by the way. But they deliver food 3 times a day, and I can't open the door until they have like speakers that come over the intercom, and they're like, okay, now you can open your door and grab your food. Don't fraternize, and like, and they basically say like, if you leave your room for any reason, they will arrest you and throw you in jail because you're
Damn.
essentially putting everybody at risk, right? If you're sick, like they think
Right.
that's what they're thinking, but it's like, man, fucking COVID ain't nothing, dude. Mental breakdown is something serious, you know?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. By the time you go and help the Korean zombie train, fuck, you're gonna be like old man. Like, jeez.
Either that or I'm gonna be the most centered fucking zenful motherfucker you've ever met, dude. Just meditating and on my shit.
Yeah. But kind of just moving on here. You're no stranger to being in Asia. Fighting in Japan with Rizin and stuff like that. So how does it feel being back in like in an Asian country? Is it is
Dude,
how
I
much different is it?
compared to the states, oh, it's
Yeah.
so different. It's so different, man. Like the whole culture, everybody, the people, like the respect. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Americans are pretty fucking rude. You know when you think about it, like they're just arrogant, right? Arrogance a
Yeah.
little more, yeah. There's like, oh, you know, on that like WWF wrestling culture and like watching
Yeah,
action movies, and they're like, fuck, I can do that. These guys pussies, you know what I mean? But in Asia, most Asian countries anyway, like martial arts is like a fundamental part of like child development. You know what I mean? So it's like,
absolutely.
so they have fucking fought. You know what I mean? They've been in fights, like real fights, and like real martial arts, and like shit, this shit ain't easy. You know what I mean? So the respect for fighters over here is much higher than in the States.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like we've my family, they've had like South Korean students, and like I mean we're talking like we're talking like 14, 15-year-old kids,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and they've talked about how yeah, like it's not just respect through fighting, but it's also respect just through life. Like you respect your elders, like that's a pretty that's like a typical Asian country kind of tradition, I think. But yeah, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but no, they're not bullshitting. Like you're very respectful to your elders, and I mean, I don't think it's so much like you have to put your heart and soul out for your grandparents, but I think it's more of like a when they're speaking to an adult, you're speaking into an adult, or if you're speaking to a grandparent, you're speaking to them with respect. Whereas I mean, I don't know when you're talking about like the states being like all the rude and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just a Canadian here. I'm a polite Canadian. I say
Yeah.
sorry, so um, but even here, like you see so many people that are growing up disrespectful. Um, and I mean, I don't want to like keep rambling on here, but I remember I was talking to someone on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how it's good that and when you say with in South Korea and excuse me, I thought I was gonna sneeze in Japan, like how martial arts is a fundamentalist like thing. Excuse me.
There it is. Bless you.
For kids when they're growing up, I think that's a great thing, especially things like BJJ, a lot of stuff, a lot of competitive sports like that, because it doesn't just help you learn to protect yourself, but it's also just show like you learn respect and you learn to challenge yourself and learn to
Discipline.
respect your
Yeah.
other people. And it's not just all about you; it's about other people. So I really like that you brought that point up.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's one thing I think everybody should do is getting one fair fight, getting just one fair fist fight, just one. And you don't like it, cool, but then you can have now you have an understanding for it. Now you can make better judgments about it. And then you'll. I guess 10 out of, I would say 9 out of 10 people would be very humbled and very respectful towards fighters after that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, no, you were saying that you're helping. I'm just gonna keep calling him the Korean zombie because I'm gonna fuck up his name.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but so have you like do you have a previous acquaintance with him, or is it just you guys had the same striking coach?
No, I do. So he did 2 camps at the MMA lab where I used to train before I
Okay.
trained. Now I train at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. I moved to Las Vegas a few years ago. So I did a couple camps with him there, but I never really had like hard sparring rounds with him. I just kind of like did some like outside work kind of training with him. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I mean, obviously my season got canceled because of COVID. The PFL 2020 season was shut
Yeah.
down, so I was without a fight. I was without any income, so it was kind of just an opportunity I couldn't refuse. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, come out here, come to South Korea. We're gonna pay you. We're gonna take care of you and hook it up. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's an opportunity. You know what I mean? That's in this game, it's like all you need is opportunity, right? And then it's up
Absolutely.
to you. It's up to you to make something out of that opportunity. So you don't waste opportunities, and here I am, man. So and same thing. Like even though like this trip is not starting off the best,
Yeah.
but I've had like really fucking good like moments of clarity in this isolation, where it's like I know this will make me a better person. This will make me a better man. It'll make me a better father. Make me a better lover. Like it'll make me a better person. Because sitting here with your own thoughts can it can be very terrifying at times, and it can also be very relaxing and very fulfilling and very like, you appreciate things. You appreciate what you have.
Oh yeah, like 100%. I think we all have to kind of be put in certain situations in life to kind of know where the fuck you stand, you know, um, and just to know, yeah, just to kind of get that clarity and that, just to be grateful for things, I guess,
Yeah.
and just
You
having a
just,
retrospective of your life.
that's it. Knowing who the fuck you are as a man.
Hmm.
The good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously you're gonna be training with Korean Zombie. So do you find that there's gonna be things that you're gonna learn from him that you can apply to your own career or to like
Oh,
your
oh,
upcoming fights?
oh yeah, that's everybody I train with. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they're fucking first day on the mat or if you know what I mean. Like you can learn something from everybody if you are open to it and you're a student of the game. But no, my main focus here is, of course, I'm always training to get better. That's my martial artist. But my main focus here is to give Zombie the best look I can for Brian Ortega. So
Yeah.
I've been studying a lot of Brian Ortega's films. I've been, kind of watching what he's good at, what he likes to throw a lot, what he goes to, and I'm just going to be the best version of Brian Ortega that I can be for this camp. And then when I'm not sparring Zombie, when I'm not here doing my job, then of course I'll be learning and being a student and just taking it all in.
100%. And I mean, just looking at Brian Ortega, I mean, I don't want you like spilling out, what game plans or whatever, because obviously you haven't got to train with him or give him a look yet. But what just looking at Brian Ortega, what do you think Korean Zombie needs to do to beat him?
I think just fight like he fights, honestly.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when I'm breaking down Ortega, I notice he moves a lot, like with striking on his feet, he moves a lot like a
Yes.
boxer with
Yeah.
like quarter turns and cutting them off, and not a lot of like hybrid MMA with like switching his stances and cutting angles off to the side. It's more like boxing, like quarter turns, like
Yeah.
getting angles that way and stuff. Whereas Zombie, he fucking moves like an MMA guy. Like he'll back out and switch his stance just to what I mean. He'll create angles by moving his feet instead of just always being in that like kind of, yeah, I'm gonna say boxing. It's not really like a boxing. That's probably like, you know what I mean. It's like boxing hybrid, your boxing MMA stance. Whereas
Yeah.
like compared to the way Zombie moves on every angle, every line, you know what I mean. So I think honestly, just Zombie goes out there and fucking fights like he fights, and he beats Ortega 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not, I can't really see how that fight's gonna go. I know Ortega, he's really gonna want to win back for sure. He's gonna be coming back hungry for sure. And then Zombie, obviously, he had that really bad loss with Yair
Ah,
Rodriguez. I saw that fight. I watched it live, and I was like, oh, Zombie's got this. I mean, great fight, great freaking fight. But no, Zombies got this. And then that last minute, I'm like, holy shit, hold your popcorn, folks. Oh my god, like popcorn's flying. I'm like, holy shit, I never saw that coming. Like I never seen a knockout that crazy. Like I just, how do you I'm sorry, I felt bad for the guy because you win that fight and it was just one little crazy move that you just wonder like how the fuck, like what, like I don't know. It was just, I never seen anything like it.
it was nuts, man. It was not a video game. It was almost like he made it up, right? And like I would be like, "How the fuck do you make that up?" But then I guess I had heard from some people that he was when he was warming up for the fight, he was throwing that fucking elbow. So
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
that's just him doing some homework on like that's like that's a feather in Yair's cap for understanding like maybe because that was a read move. Like he was reading Zombie because Zombie obviously ducked his head to that position. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah,
that elbow is not like it's got a long range with it. So he
no,
read that movement. Like he had studied Zombie and understood like when he
yeah.
throws this, his head's right there, just bop. So that's good for Yair, but unfortunate for my man Zombie. But we got the next one.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it'll be a great fight. A lot of people
Yeah.
are like on social media. They've talked about how like you shouldn't be sleeping on this fight. Like this could be potentially a fight of the year. Especially, I mean, Zombie's freaking good. I think like some people that have told me they find he's a very underrated fighter. He doesn't get enough credit that for what he's done. I mean, I think he's a potential champ, uh, by
Mhm.
bar, by far potential champ. Um, and I think he gets a couple of those wins, he could go for that title against Volkanovski unless Holloway gets the title next, or like if he ever gets the title back. Um, and I think that he has a real good shot at being the champ. And he's just Zombie doesn't give a fuck. He just comes forward. That's why they call him a zombie. Just keeps coming. Um, and I think he's very well rounded, and I just think that he has the skills to become the champ. I think he's a problem for the division for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, he matches up well with everybody in that division too. There's not anybody in that division that matches up with him. It's like, oh, I don't like that fight. It's like, fuck, he's got the style. He could beat. Yeah, he could fight with and probably beat the majority of them. You know what I mean? For sure, he could fight with everybody and make a really good fight, make it a close fight. But I mean,
Oh,
he's got the
100%.
style. He's got the style to beat most of these guys, if not all of the guys. So it's just I mean, that's the thing about fighting though, dude. It's like you can fucking be the best guy and you can work so hard, and then on that one night, fucking ducked when you should have slipped and fucking rolled when you should have fucking
Yeah,
ducked. It's like, dude, fighting's such a whore. It's such a cutthroat fucking game, you know what I mean, that we're playing.
yeah,
And it's like you could do everything, you be the best guy, and then it just shit doesn't go your way. So, you know what I mean? Like we're saying, Zombie could be the best guy in the world, but on any given night, we're all human. So
Oh, 100%. So obviously, I mean, no secret, he's from Busan in South Korea, if I'm pretty sure. Um, so is there any like language barrier? Are you gonna have any issue with that, or can he speak English? Like, how are you guys gonna work that out?
he can't we communicate. Like I've traveled the world enough and been a foreigner
Okay.
and stuff. Like I
Oh,
I can I can communicate with most everybody, you know what I mean, with hand gestures, and what I mean, like it's not so hard. But he doesn't really like speak English very well, but he can write it and read it though, so that's good. So that's another thing too, which is weird. Like he doesn't really, like towards the end of his camps, like when he was back in America, he would kind of be able to like communicate and like kind of, but it's broken. But now since he hasn't been in the States and
yeah,
wherever, he doesn't really talk English. So his English isn't that great, but he reads it and writes it really well. So
that's good, man. Now, obviously you're in South Korea right now, but you're still living in Las Vegas though, right?
correct. Yep.
Okay. And what made you decide to live in Las Vegas? Like to move to Las Vegas, I mean.
So I had just met my girlfriend Emily Whitmire, and I had just been released from the UFC, and I didn't really have a lot of options. Like I didn't know where my career was going next, and fell in
Hmm.
love with her and knew I wanted to be with her, and it made more sense for me to be in Vegas than her to be in Phoenix. So I just up and moved to Vegas.
Right. And she just got signed in the UFC not too long ago, right?
She's had she's no, she was actually in the Ultimate Fighter, the Gaethje versus Alvarez season, whatever
Yeah.
that season was. So she was on that season, the Ultimate Fighter, and then I think she's 2-1 right now. She's 2-1 in the UFC. So her first
Yeah.
fight was Jamie Moyle, and then she beat Alexander Albu. I don't know what her first
Oh,
name
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. I know who you're.
And
I think she's the one with like silver hair or something. She's got like that.
Albu, she's like a Russian chick. It was like, oh, it's famous, like showing her ass on Instagram, like famous ass girl. That girl. And then she lost to Amanda Rebus, who's the fucking stud.
Oh, Rebus,
So
man. I mean, not to take anything away from your girl, man, but Rebus, man, she's a problem as well. So I'm
she's good,
not.
man. She could be a next champion for sure.
Hmm. So
Like,
not to take anything away from your girl there, but if she could have lost to someone else, but because she lost to Rebus, I wouldn't feel entirely bad about that. I mean,
no, no, and that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't think she really is too tore. I mean, obviously losing sucks. You know what I mean? Like you never want to fucking lose, but it's like, yeah, man, there's levels to this shit.
hmm.
It wasn't your night.
So obviously, being together as partners, how does that? how do you balance your training and her training, her fighting and your fighting and in life?
Well, that's the dichotomy. That's what makes it hard, dude. That's like the hardest part about being with another fighter. You know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
it when you're in fight camp, that's all your time. You know what I mean? All your like it's such selfish. You know what I mean? It's like all your time is like training and recovering, and you don't really have a lot of time to like cook your meals. You don't have a lot of time to like clean up the house. So it's like you kind of rely on other people, on each other. You know what I mean? So when we're both in camp, then it's like, oh fuck, like then it kind of like you kind of have some troubles. Luckily, we've only really done that like I think once, so we haven't really had too many issues there. So yeah, I mean it's good. It's good to have someone who understands, though. Honestly, like the good is more outweighs the negative, I would say.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, yeah. So, any upcoming news for her, or I haven't heard
She's,
anything.
yeah, she's fighting Polyana Viana on
Oh,
August
really?
20.
Okay.
Yep, August 29th. So they were scheduled to fight back before the COVID shit happened in Las Vegas. It was like the last UFC card actually they had before COVID shut everything down. Um, and fucking Emily had some issues when she was cutting weight, fucking cutting weight, and then just got to like a pound over and just fucking stopped sweating. Her body just was like, no fucking way. Um, so she missed weight, and then like she couldn't fucking eat or drink anything all day. So finally, I was like, we're fucking going to the hospital, Like, there's you can't eat, you can't drink, like you fight tomorrow. We got to do something. So she got cleared, got the IVs and shit, and then just fucking couldn't fucking get it going. Had to go to the hospital, and they kept her in the hospital till 1 in the morning, and just
Yeah.
one of those things. Her body just fucking couldn't handle it. So they got the rematch. Now it's on for the 29th, and she's gonna kick her ass.
That's good, man. And are you gonna be able to go to that fight with her or no?
I won't be there. I'll be here, man. I'll be here. That's the other thing too. Sacrifice. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean, with that being said, like obviously, typically they want to have their coaches. They want their coaches to just go with the fighters, just with the limited people that can go to the events, obviously. But I've just noticed, oh, what's her name? She's in women's bantamweight division. She just fought. She's a Russian. She
Yana,
fought. Yeah, I think you might know. She's blonde. I just can't think of her name,
Yana,
but she's what's that?
Yana.
Yeah, Yana. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Yana.
can't even say her name,
She trains
but
at Extreme Couture. Yeah,
yeah, and I think she's dating Santos.
that's Santos. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, like he went to her event, so I don't know whether he was just training her personally, or just because he's a fighter too, and he'd be good in her corner. I don't know if that's just how it worked out, but
Yeah, we tried that. It's I've found it's best to separate the boyfriend, significant other, and the coach role. Like the two, they shouldn't go together. You know what I mean? Like a boyfriend and a girlfriend should
yeah,
just like you have your coach. Like I know you're a fighter, like but you have your coach. You know what I mean? And just keep it that way.
yeah,
Like know your role and stick to it, and you just have a lot
yeah.
less competition that way.
Like just stay dialed in and worry about the fight than having your significant other in the corner for sure. I think that can
Yeah.
be distracting. I mean, like I'll never forget when I watched that fight. It was Misha Tate a long time ago, and when she was dating Brian.
Brian
I'm sorry.
Caraway.
Yeah,
Brian
Brian
Caraway. Yeah.
Caraway. And you can hear her in the corner, and she was just mentally broken. I think part of it is just having the boyfriend in the corner, and I don't think that's the best thing. Have
Well,
people in the
I'll
corner like
tell you what it is. I'll tell you when your boyfriend, your girlfriend, it's love. It's all love. It's loving. It's like what I mean. Like I want to fucking take care of you. I want you know what I mean. I want you to be happy and all this shit. When you're fighting, you need to be fucking mean. You need to be fucking like go out there and fuck this girl. Like I don't give a fuck. You get your nose broke. I don't give a like. You know what I mean. You got to be fucking hard. You know what I mean. And like
yeah.
it's hard to do that when you love somebody. You know what I mean? When you're in love with somebody, it's like it's hard to like switch over that for me anyway. It's hard for me to switch that love off and be like, all right, fucking let's go fucking. You know what I mean? I'm just like I just want to love her and fucking hold her hand the whole time. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm just trying to move on from here now. I kind of got went off track, but just before I get into personally your MMA career, is it true that you're like a bit of an entrepreneur? You've
yeah,
been
I
trying
mean,
to get into that, or?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I bought my I bought my MMA promotion, Midwest Cage
Nice.
Championship. So I was the champion. I was the champion of Midwest Cage Championship
Yep.
before I got to the UFC.
Hmm.
And the guy who I bought it from, he was my manager at the time. He was managing my fight career, and he had had some issues with the Iowa Athletic Commission, and was just like fucking over it. He's like, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, if you would like to buy this company, like, I think you'd be a good fit, and I think you could really just take this company to the next level. So I bought the company thinking it's going to be awesome, not knowing I fucking bought a vendetta against my former manager. And he's not my manager anymore because there were some issues that went on and yada yada yada. Anyway, I'll spare you the details there. But so I basically buy this company, and I'm fucking jumping through hoops after hoops after hoops just to get my promoter's license. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? And long story short, they ended up fucking suspending my license. So I had 3 shows, and my manager at the time, um, he was the stipulation, so like he couldn't have anything to do with the company, is what
Right.
the Iowa Athletic Commission said. So he ended up sending an email out on my behalf, and boom, right there was fucking now the Iowa Athletic Commission shut me down. So that was the short-lived entrepreneurship there, but I still own the company. I still own the cage. My shit's under review. I've been suspended for like 3 years now, so hopefully that shit gets up and popping by 2021, and we can get the ball rolling on that because we just got started, So what can you do?
Yeah, yeah, that definitely does suck, and I hate, like, I get it how everything has to be put in motion, just for like just liability issues and just, I mean, just to protect fighters and protecting like their own asses and stuff. I just hate sometimes when you have fights that get put together, or you have events that get put together, and then the athletic commission comes in and just fucks it all up. And I mean, I get it; they have their job to do, but sometimes it's not great for the fans. But sometimes
Well,
there's nothing you can do about that.
I'll say this. So Iowa MMA used to be a very good fucking thriving thing. You know what I mean? Iowa was known for good tough ass fighters, right?
Hmm.
Now the commission that runs it fucking hates fighting. They don't care about fighting. They don't care about building the sport. They treat it like their own piggy bank, right? And so they have a loophole in Iowa that if you do a show under kickboxing rules, you don't have to pay the state tax and the state commission because
Oh, that's
it's a fucking loophole. So what did all these run by the night fucking MMA promoters do once I left? They started fucking throwing kickboxing shows just so they could sell tickets and make money and just fucking rape and pillage the fucking sport. So now it's gonna fucking take and the commission just let them. Like, they don't give a fuck. They could care less. They really
yeah.
don't care. And so now, I mean, it's going to take fucking a good 2 years just to get it back to where it was, let alone start building it up again. So, I mean, the commission just really did the state really a big disservice. You know what I mean, as
Mhm.
far as I'm concerned, and it's something that really pisses me off because I bought the company as a fighter, wanting to give back and help the fucking fighters. You know what I mean, that I was. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, and just and when you start fucking playing with politics, you realize real quick that you ain't gonna win against the fucking state of Iowa. You know what I mean? Win
No.
against the athletic commission. So they play by their own rules, and I was kind of like, you know what, fuck this. Kind of stepped away for a little bit. But yeah, got some shit in the works though, so we're on the way back up.
That's good, man. That's good. I mean, it's crazy to think, like, I mean, New York 4 or 5 years ago, they just allowed MMA events to start happening. So, we're coming a long way. I mean, at one time, I remember watching a documentary about like MMA and how, like, these commissions would say like, oh, that's just for thugs and guys that are just thugs, and they don't, they're fighting, and like people don't need to see that. And now it's like you look at like the biggest MMA stars out there, and they're idols for kids. I mean, to an extent. I mean, they're, I don't think I wouldn't want my kid to be watching someone throw a dolly into a bus full of people, but
Yeah, exactly. But that's the
but
shit. Like, you shouldn't see that shit anyway. You know what I mean? Like, that's something
no.
like that should never have been fucking advertised by the UFC. That should have
No.
been like something that like happened, and they're like, yo, this motherfucker, like, yo, that ain't cool. You can't fucking do that. But no, what they do, they fucking made the spectacle out of it. They showed it on TV and like, you know what I mean? Like all that should have never fucking made it on TV. It should have just been like the people who were there know about it, right? And then they
Yeah.
fucking everybody gets dealt with, their consequences get dealt with, and that's it. But instead they fucking glamorize it and throw it on TV like, oh, look at this thug. It's like I get it. I mean, they want ratings, they want fucking that awe factor, but they're fucking promoting a dude that's acting like a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Kids are looking up
Yeah.
to this guy. It's like if you want to put him in a good light, that's not a good fucking light to put him in.
Yeah, and I mean, as me talking on my podcast, I'm not one to kind of comment. I mean, for myself, I can say whatever I want, but on here, I think that whole act and how, like, kind of elaborating on what you said, I think it was kind of disgusting that they use that as promotion because it's like, I get what they're trying to do, but the fact that you got a guy in there and they're promoting a guy, not just like it'd be one thing if he just confronted the guy, if he confronted Khabib in like a hallway and it was just yelling and like doing it for the camera. Okay, you're trying to sell a fight, you're trying to get the guy to fight you. That's what you got to do sometimes to get people to fight you is get them on camera, get the guy pissed off, get him to want to fight you. And I mean that's what Conor does best. He knows how to make the money. He knows how to promote himself. But as soon as he threw that dolly in the bus, and I mean, he hurt like multiple fighters. He was shaking. He had a couple of fighters shucking up that almost didn't even want to fight
Yeah,
because of
Rose,
that.
like Rose,
Yeah,
a fucking
Rose. Yeah,
115-pound female. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, yeah, that shit ain't fucking cool, dude. Like,
yeah,
that ain't cool at all. That's just being a fucking punk, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. And I think that I think he lost a lot of respect from a lot of fighters, and I mean not just fighters but fans. Um, and I think that you know as much as I get that he's crazy and he likes to get under people's skin, but that was a totally different level of disrespect and it was dangerous.
Yeah,
And I'm not
the
just talking
thug.
about just him, but anybody in any other organization. Like, I've seen like videos of like other promotions where fighters get into fights on like on a face off or whatever, and it's like, okay, I get it. I know, a little bit push and shoving. It's to get the hype for the fight. But as soon as you start throwing punches and people get in the way and you're hurting innocent people, that's when it's like, come on, you should as a fighter, have a little bit more of self control
Yeah,
because that you're a model to other people. You're a model to kids or people that are teenagers that want to watch, these guys fight, and you don't want to show them that just because you're a fighter, you can just fight people off TV or off camera and do whatever you want. No, that's not how life works. Just because you're mad with
yeah.
someone doesn't mean you just get to clock them and tune their clock. It's
Fuck,
not.
it'd be nice though, wouldn't it?
What's that?
I said it'd be nice though, wouldn't
It
it?
would. I mean, I think we're all feeling. I think we're
Sometimes.
all thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what it boils down to is being a fucking professional. That's it. Just
Absolutely.
be a professional. Be a professional. Carry and conduct yourself as such. It's that easy.
Absolutely. Now, kind of moving on here. What got you started in MMA in the first place?
So I grew up in Iowa, and I
Hmm.
started wrestling when I was 3 years old. I wrestled AAU all the way till I was in high school and shit, and then had an opportunity to wrestle in college, and I went to school for like a week just thinking I was gonna wrestle, and I fucking hated school, and I didn't want to do it. And around that time, my uncle was he's a police officer in Iowa. He took an MMA fight, and I remember going to watch it and just being like, who in the fuck would want to do this shit? This shit's crazy. Like, you're locking yourself in a cage, you're fucking fighting. Like, this is nuts. But at the same time, it kind of had like that allure to it where I was like, all right, I don't want to fight, but I kind of want to learn how to do this shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then I started training with guys who were fighting, and I got fucked up for like the first like 6 months, man. They kicked my ass every time. Every time I went in that room, dude, they kicked my ass. And then it got to the point where I was hanging with these guys. Not only was I hanging with these guys, but I was beating some of them. You know what I mean? And these guys were fucking fighting, like they were winning fights and shit. I'm like, okay, now I'm hooked. Now let's see if I can do it. You know what I mean? So it's like now I, and then I took my first fight, and knocked the kid out in like 30 seconds. Second fight went the same way, knocked that dude out in like a minute. And yeah, and the rest is history, man. I was just fucking hooked.
That's good, man. And I mean, you've had like 35 fights, 27-7. I mean, that's quite a record.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been at it for a while, man. So I kind of lucked out and like I kind of like was able to ease into my pro career, albeit though way too fucking early. So I'll say so I went 0-2. I went 2-0 as an amateur, okay, in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
So Iowa wasn't commissioned until like 2011, okay? So I started fighting in 2008. So I was able to fight my amateur fights, and then the guy that did the promotion in Iowa was also doing professional shows in Minnesota. So I had fought that one night, the second fight, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to make some money? Like I got like next month, you can come up here and fucking fight this guy, yada yada yada." So I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, why not? What you know what I mean?" So I went up and I lost. I fucking fought 15-0 Marcus Levesser, who's a NCAA Division III undefeated wrestler. He fought in the UFC. Like he was a fucking stud, and I was 2-0 as an amateur, and he was
Yeah.
15-0 as a professional. So I went up there, fought that dude. Obviously, I lost that fight, but I was able to come back to Iowa and keep fighting amateur fights. So I had a couple of amateur fights, and I went and fought another pro fight, lost that fight, was winning that fight, and then lost that fight. So I started my pro career out 0-2. Then I was able to come back and have a couple more amateur fights, and then I went back in and then I started fighting pro full time, and then was able to get on a little streak there. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of fortunate. Like, thankfully, it wasn't like I went and took that pro fight and then I just couldn't fucking fight amateur anymore. You know what I mean? So if I just went 0-2, I probably would have quit fighting. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
that's a big belt curve from professional fighting to amateur fighting. Something I didn't understand at that time, but I was able to kind of guide my way into it that way, which not a lot of people were able to do.
Right. No, having that kind of record, having that many fights, does that give you more confidence to know that you have a lot more experience over a possible matchup that
Yeah,
someone might have less experience than you?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like a vet for sure, 100%. Like in every aspect, the cage control. You know what I mean? Like my skill set, fucking mindset. Like I definitely feel like I have an advantage every time I get in that cage. You know what I mean? I'm very calm and very collected, and I love seeing guys when they don't have that emotional control or their emotions under control. They're kind of like that, oh, oh, kind of feeling. You know what I mean? So I best describe it like this. So like when you're riding a roller coaster and you're climbing that first big hill, and it's like, and then people are like, "Oh God, we're gonna fall," and then some people are like, "Yeah, we're gonna fucking fall." Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. The feeling's the same thing. The feeling is the same feeling that you're feeling. Everybody's feeling the same feeling. It's just how you're registering it and how you're controlling it
Right.
that matters. You know what I mean? And so like I see guys at the highest level, some of the best guys in the world, and they're fucking terrified to fight. They're fucking terrified until they get in there and they start fighting and they relax. You know what I mean? I genuinely fucking love fighting. Like it's like I feel like a rock star. I feel like all eyes are on me. Like I get to perform for everybody, and the fucking show is me. You know what I mean? So I really fucking love it. I'm comfortable in there, and I thrive in that environment. So I think that. But then again, that comes from my experience too. You know what I mean? But that comes from having fucking 30 some fights. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I have anything special over anybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm just a man like anybody else. Sure, I put my fucking time in. Yeah, I've had a lot of fucking fights, a lot of promotions, best guys in the world. That's just another cog in the machine of good fighters, man.
Well, we're all human at the end of the day, right?
That's it.
Um, Now, you've had fights in Rizin. You entered the lightweight Grand Prix tournament. Unfortunately, you lost in the semifinals. How much did that suck for you? Because you got so close.
That sucked a lot, man. That sucked bad. So a lot of people don't know this, but 2 weeks before that fucking fight, I was practicing, just drilling with a fucking guy, and got kneed in the temple, like right in
Oof.
the temple, like no, just right in the soft spot of my head, and knocked me unconscious. And about 30 minutes later, I was at home. I was taking a shower, and fucking this pink fucking fluid just starts dripping out of my nose, like fluorescent pink goo. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I told Emily, and Emily's like, I think you need to go to the emergency room. I think that's like a serious thing. And I'm like, nah, I'm okay. And I was like, I'll be okay. My head didn't feel bad. I didn't feel fucked up or anything. But then I went to go bend over and pick something up, and it just started spurting out of my fucking face. So then I ended up going to the doctor, and they took an MRI, all that shit. And then turns out I had a CSF brain leak. So the CSF is like cerebral spinal fluid. So when I got hit in the fucking head, it rattled my shit so hard that the membrane around my brain fucking opened up and some fluid came out of my nasal cavity and fucking that shit happened 2 weeks before that fucking fight.
Ooh.
So I mean, I kind of knew that my chin, my head might kind of be a little suspect anyway. And obviously Tofik's a fucking stud. He hits hard. So yeah, it was a little disappointing in knowing that I didn't go out there and the best version of me. You know what I mean? I didn't go out there the strongest mindset, the healthiest version of myself. So I mean, not saying I go out there and do it again and Tofik don't win too. Tofik's a great fighter. I don't want to take anything away from him, but it's kind of disheartening knowing that you weren't 100% yourself.
Yeah, and nobody wants to make excuses by any means, but yeah, it definitely sucks when you have some pre-existing injury or something happens to you, a week or two before camp. And I know it can be a bit of a cliche when people say, a week or two before I had this injury, I had this foot injury that I had, and on this. But at the end of the day, people need to realize, like, they are really legit things, and they do play a factor in how your fight can play out. So I mean, if you can come out of your camp fresh and healthy as ever, I mean, that is a plus, obviously. But yeah, shit happens, and people don't really realize like the little inconsistencies before a fight. And you can watch someone that could be a consistent fighter who, looks a certain way in every fight, and then they look really different. They're like, what's going on? Is the guy scared? Is he, there has to be something wrong with him. And then you find out, a week after he or she says, yeah, I had this going on. And then it just explains everything. It's like, oh, okay, well that's why, whether it be a bad weight cut, I mean, that can play a factor too. I mean, I'll never forget when Rose Namajunas beat Joanna Jack in the first fight, knocked her out, and that's not common for someone like Joanna to get clipped like that. I mean, she doesn't, she can take a hit, especially with that one Chinese fighter. Oh my God.
Wei Ling, that was a fucking war.
That was an insane fight. I mean, she took shots from her, so bad weight cut. I mean, yeah, I think that plays a factor. So, I think that people just need to realize that things happen to fighters and that are sometimes out of their control, and it can really determine how your fight can go, I think.
Totally, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, you fought in Rizin, now you're returning to PFL. Obviously, right now, you were supposed to go into that another tournament there too, right?
After Rizin?
Yes. Yeah, Rizin.
No. Nope. So after the Grand Prix with Rizin, I was a free agent. That was my last fight on my contract with Rizin, and PFL made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So that's where I ended up going. But yeah, now the COVID. So no, there was nothing in between Rizin and PFL.
No, but I meant, wasn't PFL, weren't they having some lightweight like tournament thing?
So the PFL, how the PFL works is they have like a preseason and then they have the playoff season. So in the preseason, you have 3 fights, and you got to you got to win at least 2 out of 3 fights to qualify for the Grand Prix or for the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
And then there's only 16 fighters. Is it 16 or 8? 8. I think it's 8 fighters that get into the bracket, and then yeah, it's from there. It's fucking single elimination, winner take all, $1 million tournament.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Because I don't really know a lot about PFL. I know it is a popular organization as well, but I didn't know that's how it worked. But now that makes a lot of sense because I was watching it was like a short documentary on Facebook. They were talking about Sean O'Connell, who got in that promotion. Now he's, I think he's retired. I think now he's a commentator, I think now for PFL, but he went into that $1 million thing and it was incredible. Like, I mean, props to him. I think the guy's hilarious. I
He's
love the shit that
awesome.
he, love all
Yeah,
the
he's a
stuff
funny dude.
that he does. But um, to see him go from that and he went in and just went in as a killer and got that $1 million contract. Now he's basically retired, and it's like, look at that. I mean, that's crazy how you can change your life just like that. Um, and and I mean, I don't know. I love Sean O'Connell. I think the guy's hilarious. I'll never forget his. I think that the one face off that he was doing with some guy, and he had like a pole, and it looked like it was like a pinata, and he asked the guy to like hit the pinata. I'm like, oh my god, like this
Yeah,
guy's
he was the king. He was the king of face-offs.
yeah, but
Him and Ryan Gemmo's one was pretty awesome too. Where they like
is that the one where they're taking their
they
drinks?
cups they took the shaker cups and then they're both like at the same
Yeah.
exact time. Yeah, Gemmo
Well,
was
I
a
think
fucking he was the
yeah,
man.
I think they had a highlights of him doing all those things on stage, and I can't remember which guy it was that he was fighting. But he comes up and he just taps the guy on the nose. I was like, oh, that guy's asking him to get clocked.
Yeah, that was my former teammate Matt Van Buren. Actually,
Oh,
he was in the
really?
Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, that was yeah. I was on that same card as those
Oh,
guys.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he like poked his nose, boop, booped him. Yeah, that's funny. Sean's funny.
Yeah, and I mean, and not just that. I mean, the guy could fight. The guy's legit. I mean, yeah,
Got the fucking heart of a lion too.
like him and what's his name? Steve Bosse, I think. The guy's Canadian, actually, I
Yep,
think.
in the
And
UFC. I
that
actually was live
was
at that. I was at that fight too.
really,
Yep,
damn.
I saw
Yeah,
that one live.
that was one hell of a fight. Um,
War.
but yeah, so kind of moving on here. What's been your favorite moment of your career so far?
Man, that's tough. I would say honestly, the greatest moment of my career would be fuck. When my UFC debut, I would say. Fought in, so when I first got signed to the UFC, you have to do all these physicals and shit, right? So I got signed
Yeah.
on my birthday. I ended up going to get an eye exam, got all that shit, and then they found out I had a detached retina. So
Oof.
boom, I was pulled from the fight. So it was like the best day of my life, followed by the fucking worst day of my life. But the UFC was awesome. They fucking ended up not only signing me a contract, but they paid for my surgery and shit. This was back when the Fertitas owned the UFC, by the way.
Yeah.
Back in the good when it was good. Back when it was
Yeah.
fucking they treated fighters with fucking respect. But anyway, I digress. And so I ended up making my debut in Tokyo, like fucking 3 months later. And I'd spent all my fucking money, sold everything I could just to pay for my camp. And I showed up with like a duffel bag full of fucking workout clothes and gear. That's all I had. And I slept in the fucking dirty gym at Alliance MMA. Fucking just struggled. Got my teeth knocked out that camp. Got staph infection. Got my fucking just one thing after another. And I ended up just going out there and fucking putting it on the guy. Ended up getting a 6 submission. Ended up getting performance of the night and
Yeah.
more money than I never ever made in my life up to that point. And that moment was pretty fucking magical. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I mean, you well, it sounds like you kind of hit rock bottom for a second, then you gain more out of that moment than you thought you would, I guess.
Totally. Yeah. It's always darkest before the dawn, but you just keep fucking pushing on. You'll get to that light at the end of the tunnel, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So do you have any like future plans after you fight or after you retire?
Just when I'm retired. So
Yes.
yeah, kind of. Obviously, I want to get back into promoting. Having him, open an MCC again and
Yeah.
throwing fights over there. But also, I've really thought about being a police officer.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I really like the idea of like well, I love, like, I want to protect the people I love and the people I care about. You know what I mean? And so I thought that maybe, yeah, getting into like law enforcement would be something up my alley.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. A guy that's from my hometown, he actually fought in the UFC for a little bit from I think 2013, 2014, I think maybe from then until the last 2 years. And I don't know if you know his name, Chad Priest, but he
Yeah,
fought in.
yeah, he was a fucking stud. I didn't even know he wasn't fighting anymore.
Yeah, I didn't know either for the longest time. I thought maybe he was taking time off. And then I find out that he's a police officer in London. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm from Ontario. So in London, Ontario, I'm like, what? I'm like, I thought the guy was like taking time off. I know he's had a couple tough fights. His last couple fights were a bit tough, but I was like, I thought the guy was taking time off. And then next thing I know, the guy's a London police officer. I'm like, all right. Nothing wrong with that. Um,
Oh.
so I think that's a good option too, for sure. Um, and I think it's good because I mean you already have that kind of you know how to protect yourself. I mean, obviously you can't be a cop that's gonna throw someone on the ground by any means, but at least you're not afraid to get in. You're not afraid to get into it with someone if you need to.
Exactly. Well, think about how many people get shot because the officer doesn't fucking know how to control somebody or throw them on the ground and put them in a submission. I
Exactly.
mean, they're just like, fuck it, you're gonna fucking beat my ass. I'm just gonna shoot you and kill you. So think about how many bad guys' lives I could save just by knowing what I know and not having to shoot somebody. I could just take them down and
Exactly.
subdue it way. You know what I mean? So it definitely goes. It's definitely in everybody's benefit, police and the criminals, if the police are trained in martial arts.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what Chad was doing with I think he was working with SWAT maybe. It could have been
Yep.
SWAT or just the normal police officers, but he was going in and I think he was just teaching them like simple striking maybe. He might have been teaching them a little bit like wrestling or like maybe like doing things like learning to do like outside trips, things like that. Maybe some
Sure.
I'm not sure. It could have been. I saw some videos that he posted, and I don't know if he was teaching them like hip tosses, things like that. I don't see why you would need to hip toss someone. I think that's a little outrageous, but I don't think there's anything wrong with like an outside trip because I mean it's so subtle that if you got to take someone down, it's pretty easy as long as you
Yeah.
do it right. But
Well, it depends on their level of combativeness too. If they're fucking charging at you, then a hip toss is perfect. If they're running right
oh
at you,
yeah,
you're
perfect. You got all
what,
that.
motherfucker? Down to the
Yeah,
ground. You did it to yourself.
yeah. I mean, you got all that momentum. You don't even have to really put you don't have to really even crouch down for
No.
that. You get all the momentum there. But yeah, that's great to hear that. You want to be. That's something that you might pursue for sure. That's an option. I think you do great for it. You get the charisma, you get the personality for it for sure. Because the last thing we need is another guy in the force to be like, hey, I'm a cop, I got a badge, I got a gun, I think I'm all that.
Oh, and I've met plenty of those fucking dorks as well. Guys that just got picked on their whole fucking lives, and now it's finally like, oh, I got a badge and I got a little bit of power, and yeah, there's plenty of bad cops out there, just as well as there are good cops. But I've been around enough good cops to know what makes a cop good. You know what I mean? And it comes down to protecting and serving. That's what the fucking police are made to do: protect people and to serve people. They're not
And
there to
serve your
fucking
community.
serve your community. Like that's it. Help
Yeah.
people out. Like that's what a police officer does. A police officer doesn't go out and fucking cause trouble and like harasses people. That's not a fucking good police officer.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, and I think like the problem, obviously, because you're from the States, so with everything kind of going on within the news, with the problem with the riots and the police, and what's your take on all that? Like, what's your thoughts?
Oh man, it's fucking ludicrous. It's
Yeah.
ludicrous. Honestly. Like, yeah, I better not touch on this subject. It
Okay.
might.
No.
I've actually had this debate with some of my friends who happen to be black,
Right.
and I they make very good points. I make very good points, but there's just no middle ground.
Well, and that's it, right? I mean, like, I think it is a touchy subject. With
And
the
and I, and I embrace touchy subjects. In fact, that's where I want to find that clarity that
Right.
center, like meeting halfway with it. But it's just that one's a fucking hard one, dude. And it's just it's a lot of it is media. People are fucking told like this, instead of like really just thinking for themselves and observing the world around them and observing like the way people treat them. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, this guy was fucking, like Silgal now. It's like, dude, you don't know the whole story on either side, right? How have
Yeah.
you, what about you? What's your life like? Do people fucking racist to you? Do people fucking, you know what I mean? It's weird. It's a weird thing. But I think honestly, like a lot of people are just out of touch with reality. Like if you would just talk to your neighbor and you know what I mean, you would understand like shit's really not that bad, right? There's shitheads out there for sure,
Yeah.
but that don't mean you got to fucking have them around. Like, excuse yourself from the situation.
It's
It
kind of
went
like, yeah, and it's kind of like the whole thing with the coronavirus right now with the pandemic. It's like people watch videos and they think, oh, the masks aren't going to do anything. And I'm like, why? Because you watched a video of someone saying that they don't because they have evidence that
right.
masks don't work. And don't get me wrong, like everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion about whether masks work or they don't. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm going to listen to the doctor and the medical officer because they know what they're talking about. Do I think the
Yeah.
masks are 100% effective? Probably not. But I do know for a fact is that if everyone's wearing a mask or 80 or 90% of the people are wearing a mask, it's probably going to do a lot better than nobody wearing a mask. And I think what you were kind of mentioning, how I think people need to think for themselves. They need to really think about what they're watching, what they're seeing. And it's like, you got people going in thinking this is conspiracy theory, the government's out to get people, and it's like, no, that's not fucking like that's not true. Like
Yeah.
like
I
if the
mean, what it
government
comes down to it is critical thinking. Like people just hear something and they fucking believe it right away. Instead of hearing something and weighing that with their logic and being like, I don't know, there's some holes in that. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh
yeah,
yeah, this fucker said it was true, so it's true. It's like, dude, use your own rational fucking mind. You know what I mean? That's what people aren't doing. Well, I can't speak for everybody. That's what I've noticed some people are doing.
right. Um yeah, and I like to touch on the subject, but it's kind of I feel if I go more deeper and deeper, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. So,
Yeah, same,
uh,
same, same. I've had arguments with my friends who happen to be of other color and like in people who are on the other side of the COVID thing of my beliefs, and I'm just like, there's no fucking middle ground to be had here. We just got to agree to disagree, and still love each other and treat each other with the same respect as you would anybody else. But sorry, man, just it's just a subject that we're not gonna fucking resolve.
exactly. I just got two more things for you. I know it's getting late for you out in South Korea right now. So, first one is, what does it mean to be a fighter?
Man, it's fucking the best job I've ever had. You know what I mean? It makes me the best me that I can be. Makes me the better protector for the ones I love. Um, Makes me a fucking rock star. Makes me, a man out chasing my dreams. It's if it wasn't for fighting, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I don't know where the fuck I would be, but it would certainly be a lot lesser than where I am right now.
Right on. I like that. And then for, obviously PFL not throwing on any fights right now. Hopefully, they're following suit with the rest of the promotions, hopefully taking precautions and maybe they can start putting on some fights. What's your statement going into the promotion? What can you say for towards other fighters if you can?
I'm gonna fucking come to beat your guys' ass, man. I had a draw for the champ, the back-to-back champion, Natan Schultz. Me and him had a fucking draw, and that fight isn't finished. So you gotta have me to fucking look forward to, buddy.
Mr. Hollywood Case is coming for you guys. Um, well, that's awesome, Johnny. I just want to thank you for taking your time. I know it's late over there, but I appreciate you waiting and thank you for waiting for the time that we could connect on here. And thanks for answering all my questions. And nothing but the best of luck to you. Good luck with the training with the zombie, and good luck with whenever your next potential fight is.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time as well.
Thanks, Johnny.